Welcome back. A lot of interviews, little mini ones happening between different panelists here during the program, and Trevor putting me on the spot. I will deal with him after the show. But we carry on, and this time we want to find out, how do we go about setting standards for ourselves? And Dominic, I want to start with you. And get this. So for the last 25, 30 years, the world has set a standard for Wahiga Mwaura, for Trevor Mbija, for each of you. 30 years of education. How do you change that in a year, in 6 months, on a program like this?
Well, see, one of the things that we need to be aware of is you are part of a society, right? So the pressure is going to be there, okay? And you cannot change the world out there. So the best thing that you can do is to focus on the world within, okay? So what are those triggers?
The world within isn't sure what it wants.
Yeah?
The world within is a reflection of what the world
what's
outside
the baseline for the world within?
So the world within is, the first thing is you need to define your own metrics of success, all right? I got to define my own, what is success for me? Right? So when I define that, then I realize that if this is success for me, that means there is my own path. All right? So if I am to walk my own path, it can only mean that I need to be clear with what I want as an individual. See, what happens is most of the time we have allowed ourselves to have the society define what success is for me. All right? And because of that, the chaos outside becomes the chaos inside. Okay? So I need first of all to clarify what I want within. So that's, for me, is very important. Today, especially in the area of psychology, we talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you to remain in the present, okay? Right now. So there's two ways, mindfulness journaling and mindfulness meditation, right? So this is about learning to live in the present moment, okay? So there is, first of all, and this is what Houston was talking about, that's self-definition. I am the image of God. That's the first place to start. So where does my worth lie? Yeah. And when I know where my worth lies, then I know what to pursue. So if my worth is beyond time and space and matter, then I know that material will not satisfy what I'm aiming for. I know that people will not satisfy what I'm aiming for. I know that I am responsible for my own happiness, not the people out there, okay? So that self-definition is very important, okay? And then when I define that and I start on my path, when the distractions come, you know, like horses have blinders, right? Because of the view of the horses that have. So they are put on blinders, if you see horses on a carriage, so that they remain focused and the distractions on the side don't make them run off course, okay? So what you need, those kind of blinders, and those blinders are only clear when I know exactly where I'm aiming for. So the horse has been trained, this is what we do, okay? And this is what is clear. So the blinders help that to remain that focused. Now, many young people do not have that value system, that value structures that serve as a blinder that helps you to remain, you know, really, really focused.
Can I just add on to what he said?
Sure.
Just because I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to share and maybe encourage somebody who's watching. I bought my first car when I was 30. I moved out of my mom's house when I was 30. I had my second child when I was 30, and I got married in my 30s. And if you see the trajectory of people's lives, that's really against the norm. You're supposed to be settled down when you're in 20 and so on and so forth, your career taking a certain trajectory. But what Dominic said is so important. I had to have blinders where I had to filter out what I felt was societal pressure to be, to live in a certain neighborhood, to take my career to the next level. And what helped, as we said earlier on, I can't remember, yes, it was also Dominic, that you're the sum total of the people you surround yourself with. I surrounded myself with people who were struggling like me. And together we were able to move from where we were to where we are progressing. So sometimes it's also good just to stick to your lane. You know what I mean? Hang out with your kind in terms of
Is there a danger,
where
though,
you
that you then think like, so I mean, I'm glad to hear that your kind, so to speak,
yes,
wanted to move forward.
Wanting to move forward,
What happens
yes,
to those who don't? They're
not
very
your kind who are complacent,
okay,
but your kind who have a vision and want to move forward and can articulate and respect the fact that they did not have what everybody else had growing up, and therefore they struggled in their 20s. They had issues it's okay to have issues. It's okay not to have it going on. It's okay to mess up and then pick yourself up when you're 30, when you're 40. And I like what Amina said, that's the story that's not told, the story of messing up.
The story of messing up. Houston, you come in and on one hand, we're talking about age pressure and the challenges that it brings in, but on the other hand, complacency. People who just, you know, sort of lack ambition, and you look at someone and you know they can be so much more, but they're not exerting themselves. How do I know whether it's age pressure I'm facing or whether I'm just not putting in the work to get this thing done?
I think you already know.
Oh, you already know?
Yeah, I mean, there's this thing that is kind of hardwired inside us that's called the conscience.
and that conscience doesn't care whether you're disadvantaged or not. It finds you where you're at, and it will either absolve you or convict you. So for example, if you have worked for 300 days at every door that you can find, leaving your CV, and you still don't have a job, your conscience tells you it's okay. Keep going, you have done your level best. But if, because what then can you do? You can't grab Trevor here and say, give me a job,
but
you know?
Not everyone's that positive. Some people honestly don't have a positive conscience.
I think we kind of have to separate a conscience from your mental state. The conscience remains like a sort of compass that even though you may be unhappy about your situation, you know you've done everything. So yeah, you may be sad, you might need therapy, you might need people to talk to, people to vent towards, but deep inside, you know that you've done everything possible. The bulk of young people, I would say, they find themselves in a position where actually the odds are stacked against them, but they use that as an excuse. They use that as an excuse to say, it's terrible, it's corrupt, I sent 2 CVs to 2 companies, why should I even try to do anything beyond that? So that there's no escaping that. Like, yes, you find yourself in an environment that you didn't create or choose, but what you do with it is up to you in terms of whether you can get yourself to begin to do the right thing. You see, a river will cut its way through rock, slowly but persistently. And even for those who are Christians, the promise is there that, you know, God will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you can endure, but he will, with the temptation, provide a means of escape. Okay. So it's always about just, you never see into the river. Yeah, you never see into the future, but there's always a next step. There's always a next step, and you just have to stay faithful, trying to do what's best with what you have.
Stacey, of this whole panel, you might have the biggest challenge moving forward. You're in a field where you need a certain image to get into office, and you need another image to stay effective in office as well. With what you know now, how do you think you will operate moving forward? And with a lot of young people looking to get into the political field, how will they deal with the pressures that they have, their own life pressures, and there's the pressure of the field that you're in as well?
First, being in politics at a tender age, I don't think it's a mistake, but it has really given me an opportunity to really be focused and to stay on course always. Because I'm in a situation whereby I have to look like the successful politicians that we see. But I've come also to realize that before you start looking up to someone, or before you say this is a role model, you must really find out who this person is. And most of the time we don't know who this person is. So what I'm trying to do so that I don't look like I'm running out of my life is becoming real. I've stayed real to myself, and I've tried to bring out the real me to the society, whereby there are so many young women who want to join politics, but they fear because Stacey has been told you have to be married, so they do not want to face the same challenges. So I've really tried to be very real and speak out about these issues so that other people can have an opportunity to face it as it is.
Can you be real to the people that you're going to campaign with and tell them, I don't have money to give you?
I have always,
what do they say?
I have a promise.
Let me tell you, Wahiga, when I lost the Senate, I was nominated for Yala. That made me to become a bigger name in Bomet County. When I lost it, I lost so many friends. But while at it, I've been able to learn that I must be able to tell the truth, that truth will set me free from the expectations that people have around me. Right. And I've been able to manage and see how to live with that reality. So it's always good to speak the truth. And people say that politicians don't speak the truth. But I want to be that different leader that must speak the truth.
I say that.
You want to be that politician that speaks
Remember,
the truth?
yes. Remember, Wahiga, when I moved into Nairobi, it's the first time I'm living in Nairobi, remember. I was a student in Maseno. Then I ran. I was still in my mom's house in Bomet. Then Yala came. I stayed in some place for 3 months campaigning. Then we were told there is no election. You must wait until the next parliament comes. So I was thinking, how do I go back home? So I had to think outside the box. Then I moved to a place where it's perceived that this is an MP for the regional parliament. So you can imagine that I've been able to handle that and still live with that reality. So sometimes society gives you the pressure, but you must also give it to your real self that you're going to a place that you can manage.
Okay.
So that you don't fall for, you lose your morality because you want to keep some standards. Yeah. No.
I mean, you interact with a lot of young girls like yourself, and you've made certain statements that have been seen to go against the grain. What do you tell them about how they model themselves and they stay away from this subtle pressure? Like you mentioned, for you, the achievement is to get married. Nobody cares about how you go to school. What do you tell them, and what is their response?
I mean, it starts with where you come from. Your own personal circumstance. All of us have to appreciate where you come from, the kind of family you come from, forgetting the society around you. That the society around you, different people come from different types of families. So if you, whichever family you come from, that's the primary standards. Those are the primary people who set standards for you. So if you come from a circumstance where people appreciate different things regardless of the community around them, yeah? So that's what you use to take root. If your father, your mother, your brothers and sisters appreciate education, more than the society that you come from, that's what you take to take a step forward. You accept you use your own circumstances, you use the tools that are given to you.
But how do you
I can
the
come from a culture
of defiance of your parents, because they say you need to get married and bring becomings, or even the society?
I mean, at the end of the day, all of us come from a family where your mother tells you utaoa lini, or your dad or your grandmother, or utahama lini as with Wahiga's story. All of us all of us come from that situation. What matters is what you pick out of it. What you pick out of it to go to an extra mile. And it comes from you. What do you want from yourself? Right. Are you content with the situation that you're in today? So if I'm not content, what am I going to do about it? Right. Pressure can be good and it can be bad. Pressure can be different for men and women. It's a whole range of things that affect how we live our lives. So, but actually we're from just a few days from Ramadan, and one of the things that I have learned this Ramadan is to be content with your situation. Am I happy with myself? If I'm not happy with myself, then what am I going to do to better myself? It does not have to come from the external surroundings. It has to come from within you. So if you're content with yourself, then well and good. If you're not content, what do I do to better myself?
To better yourself.
Yes, and you know, age is something that is fluid. I like to say that, because it means different things for different people. Cindy says she did all these things well at 30. Yes. She kept in mind that I don't expire. You really do not expire.
You don't expire. That's
you do not expire. So if you keep imposing yourself against the clock, what happens when you're 30 if you've moved out? You have that good car, you have that good house, you have babies, you have a husband in case of women. Do you expire after 30? What is left for you to achieve?
And
so I mean, what is left for you to achieve?
Right.
There's a lot you can achieve after 30. It doesn't mean you have to achieve all of it at the same time.
Okay, trusting the process. Dominic, you want to jump into this?
Yeah, I want to there's something that there's something that she mentioned about what the pressure can help you to reevaluate your goals. So if you use it positively, it can help you to reevaluate your goals. But what I want to emphasize here is what does pressure do to people? It produces stress and anxiety and depression. And when that happens, the brain produces a hormone we call cortisol. Now, this hormone, what it does is usually it kind of blocks most of other functions of the body, and above all, it clouds your thinking. All right. So when it clouds your thinking, it means you only continue to make wrong choices because you're no longer clear about exactly what you want. So this clouding of thinking is something that actually makes young people to go deeper and deeper into the pressure that has come. So the Daily Nation sometime, I think 2 years back, published that young people are actually having sex more in order to deal with the pressure of the time, okay? Right. So there are ways now that you start choosing now even wrong ways that make you go deeper into your hole. So let's take, for example, because of the pressure, you have chosen to have sex, and then you get an STD, or you get pregnant. Now you have to choose either to have the child or to have an abortion. See, the cycle continues. So the pressure can have negative effects. Now, what would I say here? Seek authenticity over approval. There is a huge desire in all of us to be approved. Okay? There's a huge desire to be approved. So much so that we are willing to be inauthentic. Okay, so what are your deepest values? The Buddhist. So as I finish,
yes,
the Buddhist
Sorry for
doctrine.
rushing you.
Yeah, the Buddhist doctrine is about desire. That desire is the cause of suffering. That is one of the key things about Buddhism, and one of the things that a Buddhist tries to pursue is to eliminate the desire. Because when you eliminate desire, then you have peace. So, what are your desires? And where your desire is, there your heart will be.
There, where your desire is, there your heart will be.
Yes.
That's a good place to leave it. Our panelists are spitting wisdom at 100 kilometers per hour. Thank you to each of you for joining us. And I just had a thought, Trevor. Social media, we've demonized it, of course, that glamorous lifestyle. But I think social media is also providing an avenue where people realize that they are not alone in their struggle.
If you know where to look.
If you know where to look. You connect with people around the world and realize their struggles, your struggles. Not everyone's married at 30, not everyone's wealthy at 30, not everyone understands
the blinders
what's
that
happening in life by 30.
about. Ensure you have a path and you follow that path religiously and trust the process as well. Most of us who are here
deal with your desires
from a very different
that's a deep one.
Yep. Yeah. So we take a break now. 22422 is the SMS line. You can't call in anymore now.
Yeah, but there's feedback.
There's feedback as well. All right, let's bring them up on the screen. And see, 22422 is the SMS line. You don't leave a name, but you say, friends, marriage is definitely a yardstick. At Chef Kemoy and company. We first need to see what you can do for your family before we can elect you. Leadership starts at the family level.
That needs to be a right reply to this.
Yeah.
I think we
briefly, one line.
Of course, I always believe that marriage is not a yardstick. And how many leaders do we have in the National Assembly and the Senate who are married? Look at...
if they're not here.
Don't mention them.
Please.
Just say
we
them.
have so many leaders that are married, but we are still complaining that they are not delivering.
Right.
And we have very few who are not married and they are delivering.
Exactly.
I will not mention names.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, another one coming through to our newsrooms as well. SMS line 22422. There.
Lucy, Dominic from Nairobi. Everyone on social media is rich and doing so well. I've not seen a single person on Facebook who isn't happily married or living a happy life. The pressure is related. Related?
I think he meant relative.
Relative.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Jamal Bolt is Yola. At times, the age pressure comes from parents. E.g., your dad might have wanted to be a doctor during his prime years, but it never worked. Now he wants to realize his dream through his son, who is passionate about medicine.
Wow.
That's imposing pressure on the son.
My goodness. Okay. I trust a lot of parents are watching today's program to hear what young people are going through. Hashtag Daybreak Amwai brand. There's a lot of pressure, especially for the people between 20 and 25. This is where the struggle to be successful kicks in. You seek to be independent, but circumstances at times don't allow. When you see others doing it, you feel a lot of pressure to be at that same level.
It's interesting perspective there. Also pressure coming from people. Dario says...
This is real. This is so real. Oh my goodness.
And you don't know what this pressure is if you're not an Arsenal fan.
Jamila, who else? All the Arsenal fans. Yeah, from Dario Sasko. Arsenal fans, keep it real. You guys that live above pressure. Arnold Bunde, what society expects from you is not what you expect from yourself. I was born to live above the bar, groomed by a father to live a godly lifestyle, groomed by a mother to be a gentleman. Okay. Cryptic.
Okay. Yeah, let's see another one here coming in. Biko Max says, I think education achievement is a tough pressure. The society wants to force students to be like somebody they aren't meant to be. A guy with different abilities, purposes, creativity, and personality. I personally dropped out, and I love what I do. He's a failure, they say so.
Well done, Biko. Wow, for sending that message in. And one last one. All right, Joshua Mwai. It all depends on how you raise your kids. For me, my mom used to buy us mitumba shoes and tell us we are the most pretty kids in the world. It really boosted my ego. None of my siblings is insecure. Actually, we've got well-paying jobs. Families still live at home. Okay. Families and still live at home.
Joshua Mwai.
Family, okay.
So you didn't really have to move out, Higgs. That's what Joshua is saying. All right, I believe that's where we leave Daybreak.
That's where we leave that discussion. Thank you to each of you for joining us and for being very, very authentic, in this discussion. I believe our viewers have learned a lot. So have I. Yeah.
And that's where we leave it.
You've learned a lot?
I had a feeling a swipe was coming. That's why I was trying to wrap up the show really
Go
fast.
ahead and
yeah,
go ahead.
it's true. Now you know. Just keep your focus. Stay with the blinders. and trust the process.
So Kimani is coming up next with Web Wars. No matter what pressure he'll post about social media, don't buy into it. Not everyone is happy, rich, successful
You're
on social
setting
media.
Kimani up.
Kimani will be telling us a bit about that on Web Wars when he comes up next.
Exactly ready here. See you in a bit.
Bye-bye.